and then I ended up tearing my rotator cuff. I had a surgery, and then I had to tear my labrum. I had a surgery, and then that's when it just started coming out. Like mainly when I wrecked, if something wrecked and it got pulled back crazy, it happened a couple times and it got pulled out.
Yeah.
And my right shoulder has always been fine, no issues at all
Oh, okay.
until that wreck, and I just broke a collarbone, which I think every BMXer's done that at least 6 times. So how many
I think I've
collarbones have
got
you done?
three.
Any? Three?
I've done both for sure, and then I've done my SC joint where you pull your collarbone like off your chest. I think that one sucked too.
Yeah.
I never had surgery on either of them though, just regular heel.
Hey, Edwin, are we recording? Good to go? Or also, this is live. We're recording. This is it. What's up, Nick?
What's going on?
Man, where you at today?
We did a short drive just outside of Reno yesterday, and we are now in like Bonneville Flats. That's like the Salt Flats in Utah right now. Just at a rest
Are,
area.
are you doing like sightseeing, or are you just heading straight to the next destination?
Just to the next destination, really. We're just on I-80. We got one at the Desert Peak BMX track just outside of Salt Lake. It's like 25 minutes, I think, from the Rad Canyon track. So I haven't been there before, so kind of excited to check out a new track.
So you're going to go do a camp or a clinic at a new track?
Yeah, tomorrow night. Tomorrow, yeah,
Sweet.
Wednesday night. Yeah, new track. It's not. I don't think it's a new track, but it's just a new track that I haven't been to yet.
Which is probably pretty rare. How many trips do you think that you go to on a yearly basis? Like, do you have an idea?
I mean, just if you did like last year, I would have done about 80 clinics plus going to like the national tracks. Some of the clinics were at so I mean, let's just say roughly 80, 85 different tracks last year, maybe.
And do you think that you're going to more different tracks per year now doing all the clinics than say when you were prime your elite career?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I was in my elite career, I was just training at Chula most weeks, and then just fly to the national, and that was it. I didn't really go ride anywhere else, even outside of San Diego. I just rode the San Diego tracks and Chula Vista track really for a
So,
good decade.
so you grew up, born and raised in San Diego, right?
Yep, born and raised just East County, San Diego, like about 30 minutes from downtown from the airport.
So what was your home track grip? Because Chula wasn't around when you were super young, right?
No, so I started at a track called Cactus Park BMX. It's in Lakeside. So yeah, like 30 minutes from like downtown, and then also probably about 6 months into it, or maybe no, probably less than that. But then it was called Kearney Moto Park, but it's basically now the San Diego BMX track, more
Nice.
Tyler's track.
Right on. And was there like who was the local pros or who was the dudes that were shredding when you were first starting?
We had a huge talent pool, honestly, from our tracks, and then I kind of took it for granted growing up as a kid. I didn't really realize um, till I kind of started doing these clinics, like how lucky I was to have the group of riders that I grew up with. But we had like Vance Weisendanger, Kevin Royal, Ashley Recklaw, Brooke Elder, Wes Jones, Jeff Pease, Chad Curley, Dennis Anderson, Rusty Nesvig. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Um, but Kevin Royal, he was a national number one amateur back in the day. Wes Jones was a national number one amateur. So yeah, I mean, we kind of just grew up in this location that was, we only had like 5 rain days a year, so I didn't have a winter off or anything like a bit, rainy, nothing crazy like that. So we got to ride full year round. Yeah, and I really kind of took that for granted growing up as a kid until doing all these clinics and realizing that some tracks don't even have one good expert for these kids to look at. So, being able to do what we do now is pretty special in that sense.
Yeah. How old were you when you first started racing and how old were you when you turned expert?
I started in '97. I was 7 years old, right before I turned 8. Um, in October, and I could be wrong, but I think I was only novice intermediate for let's say 5 months. I always thought it was 3, but I think back then I actually the race I turned expert at, and it couldn't be. That would have been in like December, so it's got to be about 5 to 6 months.
Going back on something you just said, I gotta ask 'cause I thought of a question. Do you notice a difference with, say, the rider counts at your clinics on the clinics that are just kind of out in the middle of nowhere and there's like not an expert or a local pro to look up to? Do you think that those clinics are bigger, smaller, or do you not notice a difference?
Um, it's hard to say. I feel like if there's a crowd at the track, then we can usually fill them up. But honestly, I've been to some tracks that they only have 10 riders. Like we did a track in Texas that literally only had 10 riders that would come to their track, so they all came to
Yeah.
the one clinic we did. But for the most part, I feel like if there are riders at the track, a lot of times they show up.
Yeah, or because that's just something I notice in Florida. Like when I go to, like, say, Sarasota, where there's so many pros that are just there riding. Like sometimes it could be smaller numbers than if I just go to like a place like Dothan, Alabama.
Well, no, so I
But
mean that's for sure true, because even when like I mean just your guys' area in Florida having so many tracks and so many local pros doing clinics, on a regular basis, like that you do your summer camps every single week this summer so far. I noticed even out there, like I had to cancel a clinic at Tampa because the day before I had 4 riders pre-registered, and
yeah,
I usually need about 10 just for my routine to go smooth. So I don't think it's um like not picking favorites or anything. I just think that there's so many options for people to train that why train every single day, just because
yeah,
somebody new in town. So I think it just kind of depends on the area you're at.
yeah. But I definitely want to go more into growing up earlier in your like younger amateur career. So you started ripping expert like what, 8, 9 expert, 10 expert?
Yeah. So I definitely would have been 8X. Um, yeah, because my birthday's October, so I definitely turned expert within a year. So yeah, 8X, 9X. I know I've never taken a break or a year off or anything. I've raced consistently since I started.
That's right. That's so. Did you like start going to the nationals pretty quick? Did you start winning the nationals pretty quick, or did you have a little bit of struggle,
Um,
or
we
how to go
definitely
lean
started
into it?
going. Yeah, we definitely started going to the nationals pretty quick. We actually went to. I think we had already started racing. So, like I said, I think we started in September, but I think we went to the fall nationals, which would have been October, maybe before Halloween. That same year, we didn't race, but we just went and watched, just kind of see what it was about, because it was at Coal Canyon. BMX is about hour and a half, 2 hours away, maybe. um, so we just went and just kind of, just wanted to see what it was about and how big it was. And I would we didn't go to Grands that year, but I can imagine we probably went to Reno that following year in '98. I'd be surprised if we didn't. But yeah, I mean, like I said, so we jumped right into nationals. Um, I I definitely didn't win very soon. I think I didn't win a national till I was maybe like, shoot, I want to say 11, maybe. I don't think 10, maybe 11. Um, but yeah, I was a pretty mediocre kid from the time I started till about 15, 16. Like I mean, I won some B schedule race. I was up there. Always like I always joke 3 to 5 guy, and I mean that was honestly my whole career. So from a little kid to till now.
Yeah, yeah. So, because a lot of people don't know, or I mean, I guess a lot of people do, but your dad ran and still runs, but even back then he ran one of the biggest, kind of most famous teams to, like the sport has ever had. How old were you when he started his team, and like what was that like?
We honestly started it pretty straight away. I mean, I've told the story a handful of times, but when we started racing, we just had whatever Fox gear rode. But I would say I was still before I was an expert, so maybe within that first 3 months, the local bike shop, I forget what it's called, maybe Lakeside Bike Center or something like that. Asked if we wanted to be on the team, and they're like, yeah, come into the shop, check it out, blah blah blah. It was 35 bucks for the jersey, and we walked out of there like $35 for the jersey. Why don't we just start our own team? Because we had me, my two sisters, I had like two cousins and two younger uncles that were all racing at the time. So we're just like, let's make our own team. And that started out as Phantom Bikes. And it just kind of evolved from there. My dad's been a running team manager nonstop, honestly, since within 3 months of me starting racing, and he's also never taken a season off.
Yeah. Is that what he started doing full time, or did he have like another job?
No, he always worked full time. Not until like the 2015 or 2016 year when he moved like out to Florida and worked at the tracks. He always worked full time at home.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Donovan, you trained with your dad for a huge part of your career, right?
Yeah, honestly, up until probably I still worked with him a bit through like 2012, and then he was always the person that I was going asking questions to.
Yeah,
Yeah, even still.
and from what I know and from what I've seen, he has a very unique way of training that you don't see very often, but it seems to be pretty effective. Like, what about his training do you think is different, or like, what do you think that really worked? Because it seemed like this
Um,
crazy volume, right?
and that's all it is. It's just, I mean, if you just think about it, it's just repetitions. It's everything you need to build a foundation for the sport, in any sport, really. If you're trying to get that 10,000 hours to master whatever you're trying to do, you might as well just, get to work and get it done. And that's kind of the philosophy we had. It was, I mean, I could lay out like a probably 3 to 5 days a week. We were going to the local track and we would do 25 gates at a minimum. I had to do 25. I had to get 25 times. It was 0.05 within my PR.
So
So
you guys were
however
doing times kind of before anybody else then.
we had timers probably from like the age of 12, which
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people didn't have. I mean, not that anybody couldn't. It just they didn't. I don't know why. I preach today that they're the most. I would have never made it in the sport as far as I did without them.
Hmm.
But getting back to like a normal training day, like I said, 3 to 5 days a week, we were going to the local track racing locally, and we would do 25. We had to get 25 times, and we'd under 0.05 of my best time within that range. So if it was over that, it didn't count towards 25. So it could take me 25 gates to get 25, or it could take me 50, 60 gates to get 25 numbers that counted. We would go from there to the local track. Local track, just do your normal, first race gates for before racing. Do your whatever, 3, 4 laps. Then we would have to do 10 full laps after the track. If we wanted to
10
play around
full
after that, we
laps
could.
after the track?
10 full laps after the track, and no, like you would do the gate, the full lap, ride up the hill, get right back. You could wait one gate and then drop back in. Just knock them out 10 fast as you could. And then probably 2 of those 3 nights that we raced locally, we would go to my high school that was next to the track, and we would do 10 to 15 uphill sprints, 10, 15 downhill sprints. And I mean,
Wow.
and those were 200-foot sprints up and downhill.
Yeah, and those are
So I
actually
mean,
pretty insane numbers.
yeah, I mean, so it's a lot. And it's hard to, prescribe that to kids these days because honestly, a lot of kids just don't want to work that hard.
No.
Um,
Yeah, because like
but I
most
mean, I don't
kids,
think.
or what's normal is like what, like they might do like 10 first straight seems like a lot. And like if you ask a kid to do a full lap in practice, it's like, dude, are you insane? Like, why would I do that? Like that's the most miserable thing ever. And then,
Uh-huh.
because I've heard about crazy numbers about you guys doing like 25, 50 gates in one night. And then, but the 10 full laps after practice is insane.
Yeah, and we would have done that honestly for 6 to 9 years. Like you could ask any riders we had on the team who come stay at the house during the summer, like they had to do all of it. Tara Nichols, like I can't even name
Rusty.
them. Rusty, like yeah, any of the local guys that live in San Diego that were on the team, they all did that. So it was,
Yeah.
I mean, if we were faster than riders, if the reason we had a good team was we honestly just worked really hard, and I don't think
Yeah.
my dad has steered away from that. So, I mean, if you ask like what Drew does, he does the same shit that I grew up doing.
Yeah.
To this day, he doesn't do much gym stuff. He just puts the work in on the bike, and that's why he's good out there.
Yeah, and it didn't just work for you, like it's working for Drew. It worked for so many riders in between Drew. It's really interesting to see 'cause it's like every other idea of training just seems so. Dude, I was gonna ask if we're bringing the cat on the podcast, dude. You got to
Yeah,
show him.
say hi,
Kevin.
Charlie. This is Blanche. Yep.
You ever seen a
Um,
cat like that, Edwin?
get out
That is a cool cat right there.
of there.
Reminds me of a hairless bear still.
No, that photo is good. That black hairless bear.
Yeah, yeah. So
Um,
one of the things that you did that's pretty crazy and unheard of in the sport as well was you actually won a World Cup while you were still amateur, right?
yeah. So, yeah, the end of 2008. I tried making the Olympic team that year. I raced all the World Cups. I did the test event prior in 2007 in China,
And
and
how old were
I
you?
never 17, 18. So I was 18 in 2008 before when I won the World Cup.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so I tried. I mean, I did all those races. I missed out on the trials race, and that was the first World Cup after the Olympics in like September, I think. And yeah, it was kind of like a redeeming moment for me because like I was out of high school. I either had to work or like go to school to live at the house for free. I didn't want to do either. I wanted to do BMX, and I missed the Olympics. I missed the trials that year, so I was kind of bummed out. But yeah, once that one was special, especially just because the drama I went through that year trying to make it and not succeeding, and then second, third, and fourth were actually the three Olympians that went to the Olympics that year. So it was kind of cool beating those
Yeah,
guys.
yeah, that is right. So after you won your first World Cup, did your life change or what did change?
Um, I started to say that my life changed. I feel like I was going down that path anyways. It definitely helped and boosted, awareness of who I was and what I was able to accomplish, I suppose. I mean, I had won the amateur title in '07 that year before, and then backed it up again in '08 before turning pro the next year. So it's hard to say it changed my life, but um, it probably didn't help me getting on Haro the following couple years after that. Just DD, keeping an eye on me, I suppose.
Yeah. And when you're getting in there and start doing all these World Cups, it was definitely a bit of a change of era in the sport where like the big World Cups and the Supercross tracks were kind of just becoming a thing. And you guys were kind of like the test dummies, right?
Yeah, kind of and so the guys doing the like previous years, like they had the X Games races, a couple Triple Crown races, and then started doing the UCI rounds. That was probably like what, like I don't know, 2001, 2, 3 when they did the X Games. Then like 3, 4, 5 they started doing some do tour World Cup type stuff. So I think it was just kind of a passing of the guard. Like those guys who did all those like those X Games events and stuff like that were getting older, and then when it kind of morphed into the more like traditional Supercross race days, yeah, we were test dummies a little bit like on that style of tracks and the speed really increasing at the time. But yeah, it was just also kind of like the riders like, I mean, no hard feelings or anything for that, but like Jason Richardson and like um, Robert DeWielde, like those riders like those that were just higher 20s, early 30s at the time, and we were the 17, 18-year-old punk kids, coming up and um, trying to dip our hands into it, I guess.
Yeah, and the tracks were insane because I remember when they first started building like Supercross tracks and people were doing World Cups, it just seemed like every track was just out of this world. Like what was some of the gnarliest stuff that you ridden, and like how do you show up to a World Cup like that where there's almost no tracks that exist like that, and then you show up and you just gotta boot these gnarly jumps.
I think that was kind of the skill of it back in the day was, everybody, we were lucky to have Trula on the track there, but it would say probably 75% of the time we'd show up to a World Cup, it was like a built track for that event. Or, Tom Ritz would come up with some fucking crazy shit where we're jumping a bridge or, jumping on top of a box and just kind of Yeah, I mean, we were just, I guess, the test dummies at the time. Just kind of modifying it up. Now the tracks are just all about speed and kind of seeing not necessarily single file stuff, but it's just all about going fast around the track. When we used to have to get to the track and battle the track, like hopefully we could make it around the track in the time trial so we could qualify to the race day. And there was plenty of days like that where I would show up first round where I hadn't even jumped the triple and motos or not qualifying, practice, and it's an intimidating way to roll down for your first round.
Yeah, yeah, that's insane. It seems like now it's like the tracks are just getting so much more tame to almost like groom like a 12, 13-year-old kid to feel comfortable about going down a hill. And then back then it's like, dude, they were sending you off some gnarly stuff that, just stuff that you never ridden before. So it was crazy.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
I'm I'm stoked that I was part of that crowd because some of the tracks just look like oversized pump tracks these days. They're kind of boring.
yeah.
Plus, they're
You
all
know,
racing like that turkey track was complete asphalt. That does not sound like fun to crash on. We used to do World Cups on dirt tracks. It was fun.
yeah. Um, One thing so I didn't realize that you actually made a running for the '08 Olympics either. Did you have a clear goal in your head, like I want to be an Olympian, I want a medal, or were you just kind of going with the flow?
Um, I mean, it was just kind of the next step in the sport and making it to the Olympics, being able that's just like a worldwide recognized accomplishment. Where if you say you're national number one pro in USA BMX to the regular person, they don't really know what that is. But you tell somebody that you're an Olympian, everybody's going to recognize what that is. Every time you're on the airplane for the rest of your life, that old lady that sits next to you and asks you what you do or what you did,
Like,
you
you
can
have
say an
so many
Olympian.
tattoos. How do you have a job?
Yeah, yeah, you know what I mean. And so that was the goal. That was like that's the next step in the sport, and this is what I'm doing currently. And so I didn't really have the intent. I mean, in all three of my Olympic like cycles, I never really had the intention of trying to get a medal. The first time, for '08 and 12, it was just becoming an Olympian, making it to, being picked on the team. Like that was the goal. I missed it in '08, but 2012, basically once I got picked for the team, I showed up fast. I did well in the time trial, and then I had some injuries on race day, which not really an excuse, but um, I was an Olympian at that point, and I accomplished what I set out to. But the way race day went, and I won my fifth qualifying round after like that. There were some big crashes and whatever. Anyways, I left London like kind of discouraged and I got to let myself down. And so that really just kind of fueled my next cycle for the goal of just I wanted to make the final. I wanted to be in the last lap of the day, and you know, but so realistically, once I made it out of that third semi in Rio and made it to the main, I had accomplished everything I wanted, and that's probably why I ended up whole shotting and doing as well as I did was because I really didn't have any pressure on myself. I made my own mistakes out there, like everybody's seen, but I didn't need anything else from my journey there, I guess.
Yeah, dude, that was honestly one of the most exciting races. I think like the whole sport of BMX just like erupted when you whole shotted, like kind of in the same way, like like Anthony Abacardo winning the national championship is kind of like a smaller scale. You know what I mean? Like everyone was just so stoked for Anthony Abacardo for winning that title, but it's like when everyone see you whole shot, they're like everybody was cheering for you. It seemed like I know I jumped off the couch screaming, and then wow, like it was a crazy race. What was going through your head? Because like you said that you kind of accomplished the goal of making the main, so it was kind of no pressure, and then so you're just gonna swing it right out of the gate, and then you hole shotted, and you probably weren't expecting that, or anybody was.
uh, I mean, I would have, I could have told you that I was capable of doing it, but had I anticipated doing it at that time away, um, like I said, I knew I could snap out of the gate and go down the hill fast as anybody. But I don't know. I think it kind of just worked out. I know Sam had a little mistake down that first jump. Probably messed up Dean a little bit, just opened up that inside for me. Because I mean, if you look at the video, I think Connor probably would have beat me to the lip of the triple, but I had the inside on him. But I yeah, I don't know. I just I didn't have any pressure on myself. But as it was going, so like I get into that first turn, and there was like, if you were there, you know it. If you watch the video, you can kind of see. But like the turn kind of had like a weird hump in it for the girls' turn to cut down, and so us guys had to go over this. If you're on the inside, go over this weird hump to get to the men's side. And I remember in practice, because earlier in the year, one of the other World Cups in Manchester, I like one of the rounds, I hit my pedal on the ground on the first turn. It was the first time I've ever done that at like full speed. I almost crashed, like panicked, and then I made it around the lap. Second round, did the same thing in the first turn. Like what the hell's going on? Second turn, I did the same thing, hit my pedal on the ground, flipped over the bars, took out Posey, and I'm laying. There's a funny photo where I'm laying there just like, how did I do that? Anyways, fast forward to Rio. I'm going through that first turn in the final, hole shotting, and I'm just like, be patient, be patient. Like, don't hit your pedal, don't hit your pedal, don't rush it. Yeah, and I come out of the turn clean. Me and Connor kind of caught elbows. Not on the first one. I think maybe the second one. I kind of made a little space. We both hit our helmets over our visor, or on our chin bars, like over the berm jump. And then I didn't think it was going to happen there. And I sure as shit just hit my pedal on the ground.
Oh my God. What was the feeling crossing the finish? Or because when you cross the finish line, it looked like you got third, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I didn't lose the race because I hit my pedal on the ground. I still could have, since I still went for the step up out of the second turn, I could have, I should have shut down Connor down the. If I would have just blocked the inside, I would have blocked Connor and Jelly, potentially held it all the way to the line. But, I went down that straightaway like I had the same amount of speed I'd been having without making a mistake. So Connor just carried much more speed through it. I was focusing on just trying to clear those giant roller doubles. Then yeah, I just left the inside line open in the last turn because I just went through like the position I would have gone if I was going 100% speed. So Jelly just got under me, and I raced as far as I could in the line. Didn't make any mistakes down the last straight, I don't think. And he just beat me to the line. But it was hard to tell. Like I thought it was close. And then I looked up at the screen and it said like it had my name first. Carlos was fourth, so third and fourth, but it said photo. So I thought we tied. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we were like one of two sports in the Olympics that went to the thousands, where like in swimming and running, I think they only go to the hundred, so you could potentially tie, a little bit easier. So I was like, okay, tied for a bronze, we'll get a share of bronze. That's pretty cool. And then when I wasn't, when I didn't get that, I was probably upset for 5 minutes, where it was like, damn, like I was so close, I had it. But like I said, 5 minutes. I think I was sat on the stairs back up to the pits for a minute, and I just was like, what am I bummed about? I accomplished, what I set out to do. And once I just kind of realized that, it was cool.
Yeah. And I think the way you made that Olympic team was actually pretty interesting. Like, wasn't it that race in Colombia that you kind of just made like one of the gnarliest moves in the last turn that the screen didn't even show really? But
yeah, it is
or
hard.
is that how you made the team that year?
Well, so Connor got injured at the beginning of the year, but I mean, me, Connor, and Corbin were all close in points all year. I was making World Cup gains. Connor had good points from the year previous. Corbin was making some gains. So like we were all solid in the top three, earning our points for the country. That's why I think we were maybe second ranked going into the Olympics. That's why we had three men. I could be mistaken. But anyways, so Connor got hurt. I mean, me and Corbin were super close going um, into Colombia, the World Championships that year. We had to race each other in the semis. I think he was in third, I was in fourth, and he slid out in the second turn. So I was the only American to make the final. I think. I don't know. So not just making the main gave me the automatic spot.
I thought you
I
had the
think I
podium, right?
I mean, so I think I had to get at least third place to take over the points. but with the way the team was being selected that year, if you podiumed at Worlds, you got an automatic spot for the Olympic team that year, no matter what. So in a sense, I did it both ways. So I got the podium spot and I won the overall points.
So what were you thinking down the third straight before the last turn? Because like I don't remember seeing a good angle of because you weren't in third coming out of the
No,
second turn, were you? No, no. Like, weren't you back there, like
yeah,
fifth or
it's funny
sixth or
because
something?
like I came across the line, after celebrating or whatever, and people were like, "Damn man, I can't believe you came back for eighth." And I'm like, in my mind, at no point was I in eighth place. Like I had a good hill. Like I was probably top two down the hill. I think I actually went into the first turn like fifth place front wheel over the lip of the triple, but I just went in wide, and I was actually in eighth place coming out of the first turn. And so when I watched the video back, I was like, "Fuck, I was in eighth place." But not just. I don't know if there was any crashes. I really enjoyed that track, and I don't know. I don't think I put pressure on myself to do well. I didn't. I don't think I was racing for like to get that automatic spot. I think I just rode a really clean lap. Like if you do go back and you try to pay attention to like where I'm at, I mean, I just rode smart, and I mean that's ultimately kind of how I got as far in my career as I did. Was just I was kind of a smart rider, not an aggressive rider, and I just shot gaps and made passes around the track. I made passes down. I made one or two passes in the second turn, and then just made a smart move through the third straight and made a double high low pass in the last turn for the third spot.
Yeah, it was sweet. Like that was another point where I was just like ran off the couch, like stoked for you. Like that was sweet. Did your life change at all after whole shotting the Olympics, or did anything change?
Uh, no, definitely not.
Not in any way.
I mean, not besides being called like the whole shot or Olympic whole shot king, whatever, like at every race. But I mean, I got sponsored by Rockstar for the 2017 year again, so I made an extra, I don't know, 12 grand or something that year. But yeah, I mean, I didn't get any like Ralph Lauren deals and shit like Connor did, but I don't know. I just whether I didn't market myself better or I wasn't the right person to get those types of sponsors. I don't know. So no,
Yeah.
nothing really life changing after any of my Olympic bouts.
Was Rockstar your biggest sponsor of your career, or like what would you say is your biggest best sponsor that you had?
I know Hara would have been my best sponsor back in the day, especially one year I did like TM duties after DB got fired. So I made pretty good salary money plus everything else. Probably my favorite sponsor though was my dance comp sponsorship back in the day, just because I got to use the credit card to just get whatever flights I needed, and that was just that. That was.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But so out of all of your years, what was your like? Can I ask what was the most you ever made in one year or racing, or if you ever even calculated that?
I think my 2017 year after getting a Rockstar sponsorship again, I think that was actually maybe like 1,500 a month. So whatever, that's 18 grand a year plus contingencies. I think my best racing year I would have got right at 100, right under.
Yeah, and that includes like your purses and your sponsors and contingencies and everything.
I think so. Yeah, I think what I my calculated that year was like 96 or 97.
Yeah, was 2016 or the year before that your best result wise, or what do you think was your peak as far as result, speed, and just having the whole package?
Um, like my best physical and my best like athletic physical peak would have been like that 2016 year.
With Kurt
I
Picard, right?
yeah, or I mean I
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I partied really hard that year and had a good ass time. But I knew how to get the work in, just like I grew up doing. I knew whether I was hungover or not, I had to get 25 gates under a certain time. So whether that took me 50 and I was, totaled from the night before, I got my work done. So I'm not going to sit here and preach to you that I was the perfect athlete, but I definitely worked really hard. But in 2016, I was probably my best physical condition. I was strongest. I was trying to figure out, like, all right, I paid more attention to like body mass, like weight. I know going into like Worlds that year, I was a little too light, and so I made an adjustment for Rio, and I put on like another 6 pounds or so, and I felt a lot healthier. But yes, that was probably the best condition, the best ad. But like score wise, I know I did well in like 13, 14 in USA BMX. I think I won a few races, not a lot because Dan was focused most of the time, but I think I got like national three, one or both of those years. Did well grands those years.
Yeah. So where do
yeah,
you
I got a 2 World Cup wins and handful of podiums.
So if you took 2016 Nic Long and put him up for, say, like the 23 World Cup Series, where do you think it'd stack up? Or even the 23 Worlds?
Um, Speed wise, I'd be fine. I'd be right in it. But my instincts had changed a lot after that year. After a little bit after accomplishing everything I kind of wanted to in Rio, and then really with Sam's injury kind of messed me up a bit, and then following like Jelly's injury, it just kind of really got in my head that us, the riders that were out there doing all these things could actually get hurt in a more like long lasting injury. And so it I could be as fast as I was in 2016 today, but I wouldn't be able to perform like I would have been.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. You worked with Sam for a little bit too, is that right?
Yeah, in 2018, I think him and I worked together for maybe just shy of 6 months or so.
And what was it like working with Sam?
Um, it was good. He pushed me hard, like my dad did. It was a lot of efforts, a few things I was like not used to, as in like having 3 different bike setups for like sprints and different stuff. Like, so that was kind of difficult. There was like risky thing, like we were doing like toe and sprints behind his truck, and like trying to stay right on the bumper, and I was just like, fuck, I don't want to crash doing this. Like, there's so much safer ways to do stuff. We kind of, I, I kind of, I was at a point in my career too where I was just, kind of getting by with the sponsorships I had earned, and I wasn't really getting too many or caring so much about results at the time. And then I really just didn't want to like ruin my friendship with Sam because it's fucking 25-mile-an-hour winds at Chula, and he's like trying to get me to do full laps. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to do full laps right now. And so I kind of just, if I was training with him in 2015, 16, I would have had a different athlete for him. But yeah, I enjoyed our friendship much more than him being my coach.
Yeah, I heard he was pretty tough and pretty gnarly, huh?
He wasn't mean. He knew how good each of us were, and when we weren't pushing ourselves to our abilities, he would. And it would actually, he wouldn't even say anything mean. It was just more, uh, just like you felt like you were letting him down, and that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Is there something that you wish you would have done differently in your career, or or even in your life? Are you there?
yeah, I'm there. Can you hear me?
You're good.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Kevin's driving me nuts, dude. Come on. Honestly, I don't think so. I know I probably went into every elite year, with the goal of trying to go for the ABA title, but I don't think I ever really cared to win that one. I don't know why, but yeah, I don't think there's anything I regret. Like, obviously, there's more races I could have won, better results I could have got, probably people I could have treated better. But I think I think I had a good balance of working hard, getting results, and having a good time and experience and everything that not only the sport has to give us, but just kind of growing up and getting to experience an athletic lifestyle like that. I think I got everything out of it that I needed, and everything that I would have done led me to where I'm at now. And I don't think I could be much more stoked now. Driving this motorhome around with my wife and my cats.
Yeah, it is cool. So, what is the main focus that you're doing now? Like we know you're doing clinics pretty much as you possibly can, traveling the country in your camper with your lady and the cats. Is that like how long do you see yourself doing that, or what's the main focus with it?
Um, there wasn't really too much focus behind it. We just kind of I wanted to, I started doing this in 2021 because I was getting out of, you know, racing elite, started racing vet. So I was trying to figure out the transition in my career, but also Lindsay wasn't having a good time cutting hair, being a hairstylist anymore. She had been doing that for 15 plus years, and we just kind of me traveling 6 8 weeks to do little clinic tours, and then coming back and she's just working full time. We really didn't get to spend time together, so we just kind of came up with a plan to be able to swing this, and really it's just the freedom. So giving back and everything is what we do it for, but the freedom is the reason we keep doing it. We'll we'll try to find. We're looking at maybe the Tulsa area to be more central for everything, so I don't have to do long trips. That way, I could just kind of come back and forth. Um, but long term goal is just enjoy BMX as much as it'll give me and as much as I can give back.
When you're in your peak of your career, could you see yourself doing what you're doing now, or did you think it was going to be a little different, or did you
No,
not
not at
think
all.
about it?
Not at all, because I had no interest in teaching clinics really. I never did any as an elite really. Like I think I helped Tyler do some like the advanced camps, but that was just like once a week, hour and a half. But I had a hard time thinking about doing clinics because I didn't grow up doing clinics. And that goes back to what we were talking about, like the talent pool in my local scene was so deep that I just had to ask if like I could follow one of these, really riders or get a gate with some of these guys that were faster. And that's just eventually how I got better. So I didn't really like the thought of, hey, I'm Nic Long, whatever accomplishments I have, drop your kids off and give me your money because, without having something that I was actually thought was valuable. So it wasn't really until I came with came up with my routine that I really enjoy, that I think is just kind of good for all around BMX racing. I just didn't think I had something to sell besides my name. So yeah, I wouldn't have pictured myself doing this when I was expert or early pro.
Yeah. Well, hey, Edwin, is there anything that you can think of from your side that you've been wanting to ask?
Yeah, Nick, I'm curious about your personal brand. When did you first believe that your personal brand could carry you into the future?
Um, I think it just kind of goes back to, well, I mean, I guess it's just an accumulation of everything I've done throughout the sport and the name I've built for myself, whether it was, the fun party guy at the races to, the wholesome coach that hangs out with the 5-year-old kids at the races. It's just everything that I've done, accomplishment wise, but I think it just comes down to the person that I am. I think as a whole. But I guess if you say the brand, I mean, it probably came after doing, my second Olympics and making it to that final. I think really being able to call myself, an Olympic finalist is a pretty big, um, big accomplishment.
Yeah,
So realizing that, I had something that was recognizable throughout the whole world was, I guess that step.
yeah, that's pretty amazing. And I'm curious, during the tough times and the good times, Nick, what were the values that you leaned on that really comprise your character?
And I got what we said right there. Can you hear me?
Oh, yep, your
There you
signal.
are.
Your
There we
signal
go.
strength died off real quick, but
Sorry.
I'll repeat that. So Nick, in the good times and the bad, clearly there's some values or pieces of your character that you lean on to shine through during those times. What would you say those character traits are that you're passing on to the next generation right now?
Um, I mean, I think what I was always able to lean on was just my ability to, really put the work in, and kind of. I don't know if it was on there recording when I was talking to Will about, how my dad, you know, sort of coached us, and just his the value in hard work. I think that's what I, would ultimately lean on was, if I was struggling through a race day, whatever it was, I could look back and be like, look, dude, you did 200 gates last week. There's no reason you should be getting beat out of the gate. And being able to mentally like clear my mind that way, I think was probably what, how I found most success through sport, and even through life, I suppose, these days.
Yeah,
So it's
that's
almost
awesome.
like the hard work is what brought the confidence.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the stronger foundation you build, whether it's doing full laps and 100 sprints and blah blah blah, or whatever your skill or passion is. I mean, the easier it is to overcome things a little bit later in life, when things get tough. But if you know that your foundation, if you're able to work that, or if you did work that hard, you're able to continue working that hard. And I think that was probably what I was able to follow on to.
All right, I got one more question. What would you
Thanks, Will,
tell?
for instigating this. That's awesome.
Hey, what would you tell either your 12 expert self or some 12, 13 expert kid who wants to make it to the Olympics and be an Olympic finalist? Like, what would you tell
um, Man, it's kind of like this questions are like asked, when I get asked about personal coaching and stuff, and it's hard for me to do because nobody's gonna want to do that hard work that I would prescribe. So I would just say, keep working hard. Um, if I'm talking to my 12-year-old self, I guess, yeah, just keep putting that work in. That you're mad at your dad about doing every day.
them? Yeah. Yo, Nick, thanks so much for coming on, dude. It's always been a good time. Come out to the farm soon again. Let me know when we can get